Welcome, adventure seekers. We're uncommon voyagers, otherwise known as Mandy and Greg, Brisbane, Australia's almost empty nesters, about to turn our midlife crisis into an Italian escapade. Our mission? Spend 2025 getting ready to make the life-changing move to Italy. We'll be juggling home renovations, Italian house hunting, planning slow travel, prepping our kids to survive without us, and cramming our entire life into 2 suitcases. If you love big dreams with a sprinkling of chaos, we'd love for you to come along for the ride. Hit subscribe. It'll be bellissimo.
Hi guys, welcome back to Uncommon Voyagers. Today I have a little bit of sad news. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of yay things happening lately, but this one's actually a bit of a bummer. So I'll get straight into it. I am so disappointed. Basically, what's happened is, as everyone knows, we had our plans are to move to Italy and slow travel as well, because we have to do the Schengen Shuffle in 2026. Now, the great news was, which I was going to do a video about, was that we'd actually booked our tickets. So super exciting. They were booked for the 7th of February, and that was our departure date, and the adventure was about to begin. So just because I like to get all my ducks in a row and make sure there's not going to be any kind of hiccups, I thought, you know what, I am going to, I guess, have a safety net of sorts. So this whole plan of moving to Italy, we've only ever been there on holidays. We love the idea. We think that this is going to be a lifelong decision for us, but we also have to be realistic about the fact that it may not be for us. For whatever reason, we may have to come home. Any of those sorts of things. So the decision was made that regardless of whatever happens in terms of whether we're living in Italy, Timbuktu, wherever, that Greg's finishing up work. But I've still got a few working years in me. So the plan was to go away essentially for a year, still buy a house in Italy. Regardless of that too, we were still going to get a house in Italy. But if I found being away from my kids too hard, or for some reason we had to come home, I thought, a year will give us a really, really good test of if this is something that we actually want to do. Can we actually live in a different country? Or is Australia it for us? And, we just muddle our way through and, whatever happens, happens. So I'm really, really lucky that in my job, my long service leave is coming up. So any Aussies that are listening, I don't know if you have long service leave in your country, but basically once you've worked a certain amount of time, so in where I am in Queensland, it's 10 years. I think in some other states it might be 7, but in Queensland it's 10 years long service leave. So once you've been in the same industry or in the same job with the same company for 10 years, you get 8 weeks. I think it works out to be 3 months, but the long and the short of it is that it works out to be like 8 working weeks or whatever it may be. So you get that as what they call long service leave. Now you can take it a week at a time, you can take it in a chunk, you can, they're pretty flexible about how you use it. And you're also, where I work, I'm really, really lucky, you also have the opportunity to take long service leave at half pay, which means that if you scrap the 8 weeks that I was talking about before, it kind of works out to 3 months. So I was going to have 6 months at half pay. So we were still going to have income coming in for 6 months. Even at half pay, it's better than nothing. And it also gave us 6 months. And then I also applied to my job, my work, to have 6 months leave without pay. So essentially my work had approved me, and still has approved me to have a year off. And the plan is that if it doesn't work out, and it's just to have that safety net basically. So, if for whatever reason we have to come back, I could go back to work and we could still have an income coming in, because quite frankly, we would have to work staying in Australia. There's no two ways about it, which means if we come back to work I go, and Greg would probably have to get a side hustle or make a decision about how much money we need. But so I went to my bosses, they were really amazing, and they were like, yeah, we totally support this, and approved it. Now, I had to put it through the system at work. Now, in my system at work, basically as soon as the long service leave kicks in, it shows up in your leave calendar. So, for instance, if I looked in there today, it wouldn't show any long service leave in my actual leave accrual system. But anytime after the 15th of December 2025, my long service leave showed up there, and then that allows me to use it from the 15th of December onwards. At my work, if there is I don't want to call it a regime change, but if there is a leadership change, some decisions can maybe roll back. So I just thought I just want to get this in the system, sort it out so I don't have to worry about it. I went to put it in and I thought to myself, this is weird. Like I'm well within, we're not leaving until the 7th of February, so I was going to continue to work until the end of January. Why is it not in here now that I've put in the 16th of December? I kept putting in random ahead of time dates and going, where is this? Why is this not in here? And then I went to my boss and she kind of said, maybe it's just a glitch, or maybe it's because it's a pay week, or whatever reason. It's probably just something simple. Just try it again next week. Don't panic. You've got plenty of time. So I thought, you know what? I'll take a look at it next week. I look at it and I'm like, where is my long service leave gone? It's literally disappeared. There's nothing after the 15th of December. I go to January. I'm like, what is going on here? Why is this not in here? So I sent off an email to our, it's called pay and conditions. So I sent off an email to the people that look after our pay and leave and all that sort of stuff. And they replied back and they gave me really bad news in that when I changed jobs, so the first job that I did 8.5 years in, I was able to bring that prior service with me to my new job. But when I started at my new job, I actually started as a contractor, and I'd never been a contractor before. I'd only ever worked you get the job. But what a contractor is that you don't work for the company. You're basically leased out to them by a different company. So when I started at this job that I'm still in now, I went in as a contractor. I was able to secure an ongoing role. So basically then worked for the company after about 5 months. So, an opportunity came up to apply for my role. I applied for it, I got it, which was wonderful. But what I didn't take into account, and the math that I didn't do, and I guess the math that the person who initially entered my long service leave into the system with, didn't take into account the 5 months that I was a contractor when I changed over to this new role, which has basically put me 5 months behind. So my original, actually longer, 6 months behind, because the original math that was in my leave calendar was the 15th of December, and once I reached out to them and they explained that my contracting period doesn't count, is that my long service leave now doesn't kick in until the 16th of June 2026. I'm saying all these words and they may not necessarily make sense, but the long and the short of it is that someone entered something incorrectly at some point. They then decided to change it, and it would have been nice to have received an email saying, hey, we made a mistake when we first popped this in here. This is the new date. It's only because I'm so keen and thought, I better make sure, this is all put through, that I've even discovered it now. If I had just thought, that's going to be in there, and looked at this in December, it would have been a nightmare, because there would have been so many other decisions made that we just couldn't roll back or couldn't change. So I just told Greg straight away, and he kind of said, well, the way we're set up, I've said I'm finishing at this date and it's just closing down. And so now that date has moved, any jobs that could have been in the works until a certain date now don't exist. So I'm a bit cranky, because I feel like that's money we're going to lose. If we're going to keep working, we may as well keep working, but I don't think Greg's going to do that now. So that's annoyed me a little bit, and that's my fault, because I take responsibility for not questioning the date, but because I'd never been a contractor before, I completely forgot the contracting phase when I first started the job. I just looked at the date and went, yep, that's the 10 years from when I first started in this industry until now. I didn't think to look any deeper, and one would assume that the person whose job it is to do this math, did it correctly. So I think what really upsets me though is that we organised accommodation. We were really, really lucky in that we had friends who said we could stay at their place. We can't do that now, obviously, because it's different timing. Like in June, they may be in their own house in Italy. So, you know, that's something I haven't even had that conversation yet because I've been a little bit upset about it. Thankfully, we were able to change our flights without any cost to us. But now it also means that we're kind of, even our house things are mucked up. Like in my previous video, I was saying, you know, that my sister and her family had moved into our big house, which when I say big house, I just mean it's bigger than the granny flat we have attached. It's not a mansion, it's just, we call it the big house. So, you know, we were happy to kind of muddle our way through for, you know, a few months in a smaller space, annoying our kids who are living here, just knowing that there was an end in sight that wasn't that far away and that time would go quickly. Well, the date is now the 16th of June. So, yeah, it's crap. It's shit. I'm really cranky about it. There's other things that probably haven't even occurred to me yet that I'm just like, I'll get re-triggered. So yeah, I was quite upset at work last week when I found out, and I kind of went, okay, personal responsibility is I didn't do the math myself. I just took it for what it was as being correct. But like, if you know you've made a mistake or you identify a mistake, would it have killed someone to send me an email saying, we made a mistake in the calculations, this is your date? Because it would have totally, like, reinformed everything that we did. Obviously, our countdown has always been based on that date. Will I give up my... Look, we could still leave, but I would be giving up my long service leave. So, if we come back... let's just say we don't do the long service leave route and they approve a year for me to have a year off without pay. That long service leave will sit there. But I only get it if I come back to Australia and I keep working. So if we go over there and it's like, no, this is not a going back kind of thing, like we love this here, we are never going back, then I give up 3 months worth of wages, which... I've worked hard for that. I feel like I've earned it. So, yeah, it's going to be a waiting game. Now, that's all the doom and gloom. Greg's pretty chill about it, actually. He's just like, you know, it gives us more time to get organised and all that sort of stuff. We leave, it's peak, like, expensive time in Europe because it's their summer. So it'll be like July, August, September. So, yeah, we haven't really decided how that's going to work for us. And to be honest, we're still looking at buying a house for sure. Like, that's a definite. But Greg keeps kind of fluctuating between, let's, you know, buy one off a home in Italy if we see something we like, or somewhere else. Or do we go and rent in different places so that we can really, really decide where we want to be. Now, it's worked out really, really well for other people who've just bought off the internet and they're like, we love it, it's amazing. I guess because they haven't compared it to anything else. So, you know, maybe I'll get a bit of analysis paralysis if we do the whole renting thing and we look at too many places, which is why I've kind of gone, nope, if I love it, then we should move on it. So yeah, there's a few changes now, guys. Like, we had such a structure going on and it was the big countdown. I've gotten rid of so much stuff. Like, I probably have 5 things to wear in the next, well, until June now, rather than my whole wardrobe of clothes, because I just donated them all to get rid of them. And I'm not going to replenish, but yeah, it's crap. Like, that's the only way to say it. I'm upset. I can look at silver linings, but I just thought it was something I would share. Like, this is not smooth sailing. I imagine it'd be probably boring if it was, but it'd be nice. It would have been nice to stick to that date. And also, even from a working perspective, guys, like, I know it's called work for a reason. Like, if it was fun, it would be called fun. But no, it's called work. And I'm very, very lucky that I think what I do makes a difference. And I'm really happy about the job that I do. But there's been some changes lately where I've kind of gone, I don't think I'll be sad to finish up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready for a break and a change because it's a pretty intense job. So... yeah, I I kept saying to myself, like, with these changes that have happened recently, I'm like, I only have to make it to February. It's not that bad. I only have to make it to, well, not even February. I only have to make it to January because we were leaving in February. So, yeah, now I have to kind of reframe that in my mind. I have to put the new date in my new retirement countdown calculator. So there's definitely things that are happening in between. It's just more of a spanner in the works than, disaster that it's never going to happen. So, anyway, thank you for listening to my rant and rave. Yeah, disappointing, but we'll try and make the best of it. But that date has definitely moved, and the good news is that once I got that date, I went back and I said, so I would like it in writing and confirmation that you've done the correct math and that this date is not wrong. This is when it's going to happen. So that has all been confirmed. So at least I don't have to worry about that now. Yeah. So based on a few little things, my son turns 18 on the 27th of June. So we're like, you know what? We'll be here for his 18th and then we'll take off. So that's where we are up to with that. Anyway, thank you so much if you're following along, and we really appreciate you. As usual, you're stuck with me and you don't see much of Greg, but I'm hoping we'll get a few more of him in here sooner or later. But yeah, if you're enjoying following along or you're just curious, please like, subscribe, share. It really, really helps. The more people that like it and share it and subscribe means that it kind of shows up, I think, in other people's suggested watchings, and it helps, and it's nice to. I really like the interactions, like a little bit of a community that's happening and the questions that I get and all that sort of stuff. So it's fun. So yeah, the more the merrier. Anyway, thanks again. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and yeah, we'll talk next time, and it'll be better news, I hope. I'm going to make sure it's something super positive that we talk about next time. So yeah, but that's my update. Have a great day. Bye.